focus on hitting your goals in every area of your business. Remember, the universe rewards the bold. A leader has to take the risks.
Welcome to Wealth on the Beach podcast. My name is Daniel Alonzo, and as always, I am bringing you some of the greatest minds in the world. We're talking business, we're talking money, health, and wealth, and today we got the incredible Ray Higdon, and he helps small business owners generate more leads and sales through social media. In the last 3 years, they have helped businesses generate over 300,000 new customers. He's got a book. It's called Time, as you guys can see in the background. My YouTube audience can see it, but it's called Time, Money, and Freedom, 10 Simple Rules. And he's going to talk to us about all that stuff today. And he has 4 children. Love to help entrepreneurs create the best life and reach their goals. His wife, Jessica, I'm sure is heavily involved with helping him as well. And so it's great to hang with you today. So tell me, how do you help small business owners, Ray?
Yeah, and thanks for having me on. So mainly through a couple main things. One, using social media, because that's kind of the way to do it nowadays. And two, by really understanding better how to attract people to them and add value. So, people are, business owners are wanting to know, how do I generate, more sales? How do I get more people knocking on my door to buy my product, buy my service? And it's really more about how do you provide value to them? How do you get them wanting to work with you or know who you are, et cetera? And so really helping them with simple ways of creating content for social media that'll attract more people to them.
Well, I was, Ray, I was excited about this podcast. I mean, I'd done, 130 podcasts so far, something like that. And nice. I was excited about this one because I freaking love your content, dude. I mean, like you got good shit, man. Like, it's like
That's
fun
awesome.
to watch. It's fun to watch. I really enjoy it. And I think that there's no question about it. People need to follow you. And I usually save this till the end, but I'm going to tell everybody right now, man, make sure you go follow Ray because he's got some really valuable stuff. And because because obviously I'm I'm an entrepreneur, 25 years. You get it. You get business owners. You get business in general. And that's why I love your content. But why do people need to be a part of home-based business type business or be an entrepreneur? Why did you become an entrepreneur?
Yeah, it's a good question. What I found, I've always been, goal oriented. I've always had a good work ethic. I mean, that was kind of drilled into me as a kid. And I found that, I'd worked my way up the corporate ladder like I thought I was supposed to. And what I realized is that the harder I worked, or at least, that last 7 years of my, corporate life, the harder I worked, the more they would pay me, but the more they would demand of me. And so when my sons were young, I was missing school plays, I was missing ball games, I was having to cancel family trips, all because of new demands at work. And they had just given me a raise, so they really needed me to show up. And I realized that that's just what it was going to be like. I looked at my boss and his boss and her boss, and they were making more money than me, but also they were more stressed out. They were having problems at home. They weren't happy. And I'm like, well, that's where I'm going to be. And so I just didn't like that. I wanted to work for myself. I wanted to have my own, freedom to, pick my schedule, to not have to ask permission if I wanted to go out of town, to, take trips if I wanted to, and keep the trips that I had scheduled. And so that's what really led me to decisions to get away from, having a job. I'm not a job basher. If someone loves their job, then awesome, right? More people need to be passionate, but I wanted more, time, money, freedom.
Love that, man. I mean, so now where did you grow up and what kind of kid were you? I mean, what did your parents do for a living?
So I'm originally from Indiana, but I've lived in Florida for quite a while, 25 years or something like that, 28 years, I think. And so I've been here in Florida for a long time. You know, my mom and dad split when I was very young, and my dad remarried. One thing that I talk about in our book is I was actually in a very abused home as a kid up until the age of 12. And so my, dad, he was working a, corporate job. He had worked his way up. And my stepmom had a job, but she was also very abusive to me. And so she just, I, looking back, I think that she maybe struggled with making friends or having friends, and maybe had some toxic relationships in her life. And, it was easiest to take it out on me. And so that's, I was the punching bag. I was the problem. And at the age of 12, I had, my choice to, stay there in that environment, which I didn't want to, or go live with my mom in Florida. And that's what I chose to do. And so, I didn't have the standard, look at role models for parenting or look at role models for entrepreneurship. Because I wasn't aware. I'm still not aware of any entrepreneur in my family anywhere. So it was, I had to learn from others, like a lot of people. I learned from, Think and Grow Rich and Gary Vee and, lots of other locations is where I learned, being an entrepreneur.
And so obviously growing up was pretty tough for you. I mean, you went through a lot of struggles, you had a lot of abuse. And so, I mean, were you a good kid though? I mean, were you a bad kid? Did it kind of mess with you so much that you maybe went some wrong directions, or did it kind of push you to go the right direction?
At first, definitely the wrong direction. So I didn't finish high school on time. I actually moved out of my mom's house spring break, sophomore year of high school, moved into a party house. And it is kind of funny. My senior superlative, I did get voted party animal. And I really held to that because I didn't graduate on time. So that's when you're a party animal. And so, hung with the wrong crowd, and it's not that it was their fault. I mean, I was just not in the right space. I was constantly out to prove myself. I was constantly, trying to fill gaps in my self-worth and self-confidence that I just didn't, it was an endless hole. And so, very, very much went in the wrong direction. And there was, I remember there was a night where, we had been, partying, and I just looked in the mirror and I just hated what I saw. I just couldn't stand myself. And I hadn't seen my mom in years, it was weird enough. Right. And that day I'm just like, you know what, I'm going to go home. I'm going to go home. I'm going to move back in with my mom. And to keep me away from who I'd been hanging out with, all the partying and stuff, I got 3 jobs. I just started working like a maniac, and kind of found myself in the work. I found that, I had a good work ethic. I worked hard. People appreciated that. And so I just started working in whatever, careers I was doing back then, until I kind of found, things that I like to do more. And so, yeah, it was a little definitely rocky for sure.
Look, I get it, because you're like, what you just described was exactly my story. Wow. I'm not even playing. I mean, other than the abuse part, but I just decided, to be, I mean, my parents were divorced too when I was young, and, I went definitely a wrong, hung out with the wrong crowd, too much partying.
Yeah.
And I hurt myself. Went to college, and I came back home, and I hurt myself playing baseball, and I came back home, and I remember looking in the mirror, and I'm like, I'm a effing loser. I'm literally like, what am I doing with my life, man?
Yeah.
And so when I got into business is when my whole life changed. And I think, and I was a bad kid or a bad student. I didn't like school. It's because I wasn't interested in any of that crap.
Right.
You know, like I just, it wasn't fun for me. I relate a lot to Gary Vee because like he talks a lot about that. Like, I'm just not interested in that crap. But now, if you allow me to learn about money or business or wealth or, you know, you name it, health, I mean, I'll talk about all that stuff all day long, and I'll stay up very late and get a very early study in that stuff every day, as long as it takes, because I love to learn about that stuff. So
Yeah.
anyways, I mean, do you kind of, does that make sense a little bit?
Oh, totally. 100%. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Wasn't interested in it, but I was also, you know, trying to fill those holes, you know, with popularity or with, you know, just doing dumb things. I will say that although there's been a lot of areas of parenting where I just didn't have a role model. I didn't have anything to say, oh, this is how my dad did it. I really didn't have that. It definitely made me aware of how to make my kids feel. And, you know, for example, we took our 2-year-old to swim lessons, and, you know, I sat there right by the pool, and, you know, every time he would, you know, they would push him underwater to come to the steps. Every single time he'd raise his head up and I'd go, yay. And his face would just light up. And, you know, I never had any of that. I don't recall one applause like my entire childhood. I don't remember one attaboy, one way to go, hey, that was awesome. I only remember pain. I only remember the negative. And so I think it made me aware of how can I make my kids feel better, you know. And I have you know, 4, ranging from 23 all the way to 2.
Wow, that's fantastic. And I love that you talk about that, because that's, you know, sometimes I think what happens is people take a negative experience,
Yeah.
and then they create the rest of their life. The rest of their life is negative. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me. So for me as well, any of that negative experience that I had as a child, I had a father that, I mean, you know, he's my friend now. I mean, we're, you know, he's a great human being, but as a father, he was a bad father. I mean, there's no question about it. I mean, you know, he left me out sitting on the street corner waiting for him to pick, you know, I was waiting for him to pick me up every weekend, you know, and he wouldn't come, you know. And so
my wife had a similar situation like that.
Yeah, you know, but I think it's cool because, like what you just said, you took a negative experience and you created a good experience. So I bet you're a phenomenal father. You're a phenomenal parent, as is, you know, I would say I'm a pretty decent parent. You know, I think I've tried to do things the right way. I took a negative, took the good, left all the bad, and created a better experience. And so, you know, look, I mean, this is like, you know, this is really cool talking with you, because I really think that you get it. And so what was that first business that you went into that really transformed your life as far as financially and, you know, in those areas, as far as mentally too?
Yeah. So the first business that I really went after and what got me out of the corporate world was real estate. So I was working for an insurance company, and I had some buddies that were killing it in real estate from high school. And I'm like, man, if those knuckleheads can do it, I think I can too. And keep in mind, this was 2004, 2005 in Florida. And so everyone's making money. And so I just start, you know what, I'm going to study this stuff. I'm going to eat, consume it, sleep it, everything. And so in 1 year, from reading my first, you know, book on real estate to 1 year later, I left the corporate world. And that was, you know, 16 years ago. I've never had a job since. Real estate went really well for a few years. And then when the market changed,
like 2 years. So, yeah.
Well, you know, I was still doing decent in 2008, even though you know, it became apparent things were changing. 2009 is when I got completely wiped out. And, but it was I look back, it was just such a great lesson. I needed to be humbled, first of all, because I'd become arrogant. I'd become, I just thought I couldn't lose, and I was just this awesome. And so I needed to be humbled. I needed to find myself. And so all of those, all these bad things, there's lessons in them.
And so after real estate, so you get wiped out in 2009. I mean, first of all, what was that like? Like, how did that feel?
Oh man,
just feel total collapse.
Yeah, and to dive into what that looks like, because sometimes people hear, "Oh, he lost it all." What does that mean? I mean, I was selling my furniture. I emptied my 401k that I'd had since I'd started when I was 18 years old. I sold my dad's savings bonds that he'd given me at some point. I mean, I was desperate. I was being chased by bill collectors. Before I left my house, I would look outside to see if there's anyone there. And then I'm going to sneak out because what am I going to tell them? I don't got any money. No one's hiring. My credit is shot. I have 2 credit cards left because the rest of them have figured out that I'm not paying them. And so it was tough. I started drinking heavily. For a period of time there, I wasn't a good dad to my 2 sons at that point. Didn't see them. I went through a divorce, and during the divorce, I just didn't see him a whole lot. So it was tough. It was really, really tough.
And so what was that next business that you jumped into? How did that start? How did you get recruited? How did you start?
Sure.
How did that work?
Yeah. So so here I am, credit shot, 2 credit cards left, right? No, I ain't getting a loan anywhere. No one's hiring, by the way, because also in 2009, I mean, almost everyone was involved in real estate. Like, it's interesting right now because, I mean, we just flipped a lot, and, we're flipping a couple of condos right now. Naples and Florida real estate is red hot right now. But the difference is it's not a lot of speculation. Like, everything was speculation back then. The guy behind the 7-Eleven counter just, got his 3rd condo, right? It's like crazy. And so everyone is affected. They're either in foreclosure, going into foreclosure. I had a CPA kill himself. I mean, it's tough times. And so back then, no one's hiring, credit shot. I got no money. I'm wiped out, and I don't know what I'm going to do. And I had a friend, my buddy Chris, out of Cape Coral, Florida, that invited me to a home meeting. And I knew what that was. And I had sworn off of it. I had tried network marketing in the past. I did not want to do it again because I'd been made promises. I was told, yeah, you can, do this and this and this. And it always came to disappointment, at least, anytime I'd ever been involved. Well, this time I really didn't have many options. And so I go to this home meeting and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to make this thing work. If anyone on the planet can make this thing work, I will also make it work. I'm going to figure this thing out. And so July 15, 2009, I joined a network marketing company, and I'm like, I'm going to make it work. And so there were a few things that I did every single day. But long story short, I did become the #1 income earner in that company, made millions of dollars with that company, found a passion and a niche that I really like, of budding entrepreneurs, people that may not be entrepreneurs if it wasn't for network marketing. And so that's where the large portion of our business is now, is coaching and training network marketers. And so I love it. Some people enter the industry and kind of get their feet wet and end up starting a different kind of business, or some people come in and stay. But I know it saved me, it saved my life, and I'm forever grateful for it. And so it's been a great experience.
Well, you probably don't know, but I'm a part of a direct selling company, financial services company. Been for 25 years now. So
that's awesome. That's great.
It changed my life. I started at 21 years old, and it's been a life-changing experience. So everything you just said right now, I get it, because the beauty of getting started in network marketing is the fact that that everybody has a level playing field. Everybody has, we all start at the bottom. Nobody's really going to give you anything. It's you got to go get whatever you're going to get out of it. You got to go get it, right? And so it kind of allows us, right, that if we are broke, which I was at 21, making $7 an hour, you
Yeah.
know, you know, at that point, I got nothing. So, you know, it's either I'm going to make it or break it, but at least somebody gave me a chance.
Yes.
And so I want to dive into this because I love that you teach people in our type of industry.
Sure.
And I want to know, like, you know, because you make such great videos, you know, about, you know, they're really funny. I mean, I don't know where that came. Well, first of all, where did that come from? How did you start making these videos? And did you, like, who thought of doing what you're doing right now?
Well, I mean, I have to give a shout out to one of my early mentors, Mark Hoverson, who he passed away a few years ago from pancreatic cancer. But I remember, you know, he was a mentor to me early on, and I remember him saying to me one time, he was like, "Dude, you're like really funny." He's like, "No one knows that. Like people they like once they get to know you, then they're like, oh yeah, he's really funny. Like more people need to know that." And so he kind of opened me up to the idea of being funnier in my content and in my videos. As far as I'm going to blame TikTok for why I do skits the way that I do, because, you know, I looked at TikTok and I studied it for a while. I'm like, this is so fascinating. Like people are just doing goofy stuff over there. And I'm like, well, and in the beginning I did, you know, the goofy stuff. I did the lip syncing. I did you know, I'm not the greatest dancer, but I do this, I do that. And they really didn't have anything to do with what I love to do. It's just like doing it for the applause or, you know, engagement or whatever. And I just don't resonate like that. Like I have to be doing things on purpose, and I have to be doing things that I enjoy doing. And so I'm like, well, you know what? I could just do skits. I had done this in longer format through, you know, just running ads and doing different things. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to make it really, really simple. And so now multiple times a week, I'll do like a 30-second little skit where there's usually two people, sometimes a third character, and we just point out an annoyance of people that don't like network marketing or people that don't understand why it's not working for them. And so there's usually a lesson in there and usually a laugh or two.
Oh, I love it, man. So let's talk about what are some of the mistakes going in when new people get recruited somewhere, any company. What are some of the key mistakes that people make early on?
Yeah. Biggest mistake when starting is seeking acceptance, approval, and agreement. So they join this, you know, foreign thing, this network marketing company, and they immediately go to their friends seeking approval, acceptance, and agreement. And unless you have a very special set of motivated and inspired friends, you're going to get shot down. You're going to have people say, "Oh, those things don't work," or whatever. I know I did, and I had entrepreneur friends and there's like they just, you know, poo-pooed it. If I had hinged me moving forward on acceptance, approval, and agreement, like so many people do, I never would have moved forward. I never would have made it. So that would be number one. Number two is not actually asking people. And so what I see a lot is people will say things like, "Oh, my friends and family don't even support me." And I'm like, "What do you mean by that? Like, what exactly does that mean?" And they'll say, "Well, you know, I post stuff on my Facebook all the time and they never reach out." I'm like, well, just so you know how they see it, they see that as you're posting for strangers. And if it was important, you'd reach out to them. So they may actually be insulted that you haven't asked them, that they're not worthy of you asking them directly. So why don't you ask them and just see if they're open, which leads to another one is a lot of people will in their mind, they will plan like, how do I close this person? How do I close them before they know if they're open or not? All I did was I just saw who was open. Hey, are you open and taking a look? And if not, totally cool. No? All right, fine. No big deal. And so because that carries a different energy. If I'm trying to close you, then I'm going to ask things in a way to try to trap you into closing, which can be very tricky, number one, and two, very annoying to the other person. If I'm saying to you, "Hey, are you open to taking a look at what I'm doing?" You say, "Nah, I'm good." I say, "Cool, no problem. Hey, you watching the game Monday?" It's not a big deal. I'm not going to lose friends that way. And I'm also not going to get all aggravated. And so one of the examples that I help people with is think about the waiter or the waitress. If they come over to you and tell you how great the homemade key lime pie is, they don't get distraught in front of everyone when you say no, right? They don't say why, right? They don't go crying in the back. They're just saying, hey, we got this homemade key lime. It's fantastic. If you'd like us, no, okay, cool. Here's your bill. All right, it's just not a big deal. And so too many people get wrapped up in trying to close everyone or upset because someone told them no. And so I would say those are the three biggest people entering the space make.
And so they get upset because they get upset because they feel that rejection? Is that the challenge with most newer people in network marketing, is they really take rejection personal? And why shouldn't they take rejection personal?
Yeah. It's, yes, that is one of their problems. And it's interesting in network marketing. There's so many things in network marketing that are like this, but it's like its greatest strength is also kind of a weakness, in that everyone can do it, right? Everyone can do it. So if I open a lumber store, which would be $1 billion company right now because of inflation, but if I had a lumber store, I wouldn't just go to my stay-at-home mom friend and say, hey, come on, buy a 2x4. Come on. You can like prop it against something. You can use it to wedge the door open. They'd be like, what? Like, why am I buying lumber? No, I wouldn't do that because not everyone's going to buy lumber, and that's kind of universally accepted. The fact that everyone can do network marketing is kind of good and bad, because then you think everyone should do it. Well, the truth is not everyone should, because a lot of people are just not very positive. And a lot of people don't want to talk to other people. A lot of people are negative in nature, and they're just going to struggle in any business, not just network marketing. Now, they would never find themselves owning a restaurant and looking around, how do I do this, right? But they could find themselves being recruited into a network marketing company and then being their negative self and saying it doesn't work. And so the problem is, don't assume that everyone should do it just because they could. You got to see if someone's open. If someone's open and looking for a reason, just like in the lumber company, if I know someone, if I have a friend that I think might need lumber, I'm definitely going to reach out and say, hey, I got a lumber company. Great. But I'm not going to assume that. I'm not going to beat them up for not buying, and I'm going to be okay with it. But I am going to let them know what I'm doing.
And doesn't it come down to the numbers? I mean, ultimately, the numbers are the numbers are the numbers. I mean, if you reach out to enough people, eventually, because isn't it like people quit way too soon? Did you ever see that happening? Like maybe even somebody with a little bit of talent, right? They have the ability, but they just weren't willing to go through the numbers. Tell me what's your thoughts about that?
Yeah, for sure. So earlier I mentioned that there were a few things that I did to become the number one income earner of that company. One of the things was I had read a book called Go for No. And to me, that made sense. I'm like, go for no, have a no goal. And so I went for 20 no's a day, every single day. And sometimes that was me following up with someone who had already told me no. Sometimes it was a brand new person, but to me, it's a combination. It's a combination of, safety in number, law of average, but also improving my skill set. So I've never stopped buying sales training. I've done all kinds of different sales, inside and outside network marketing, but I'm always looking to hone those skills. I'm always looking to get better, but I do know that regardless of where my skill set is at, it is a numbers game too. So it's a combination of, let's either go for no or have activity management where I reach out to X number of people, but let's also work on our skill sets, on how we respond, how we overcome objections, how we respond to questions, how we follow up. And so I see it as both. What I've noticed is a lot of times really high performers with a high level of skill set can be lazy sometimes. And if they reach out to 10 people, they get 3, they're good to go. Well, you can beat them by reaching out to 30 people and getting 4. And so it is interesting. A lot of really high skilled people, sometimes maybe don't challenge themselves in the numbers. And if they did, and, I say that because sometimes when I say go for no, not that it's not my concept. I read the book and I've since co-authored a book with them. I liked it so much, but that's not my concept. But sometimes a high performer will say, I'd rather go for yes. Yeah. But if you're super high skilled and you go for no, it's actually going to take you more numbers to reach those no's. You will make more money, guaranteed. So regardless of your skill set, if you're game to try that on of going for no, you will make more money. And if you're really skilled, you're just going to have to reach out to more people. If you get so many yeses, you're going to make more money anyway.
Is that kind of, when I think about social media right now, that really is a game changer for all of us, because it allows us to reach out to way more people than ever before. And believe it or not, with the COVID going on, I mean, let's be honest, man. I mean, I'm literally a work from home business now. I mean, I don't ever have to leave my house.
Right.
Again, I mean, obviously I leave my house all the time, but the truth is that this is like unprecedented opportunity. The numbers have never been bigger. So tell me about, should somebody that's kind of entering these spaces, how do we start to generate more leads? How do we utilize social media to benefit us, in these, days and times?
Yeah. So when it comes to lead generation, there's two pillars of building any business, whether it's a plumbing business, air conditioning business, whatever. And that's marketing, right? Which is passive. You're doing something you hope an unnamed individual reacts or responds to, or prospecting. You're reaching out to somebody. So those are two different pillars. So I mentioned I did three things. Number one, I went for 20 no's a day. Number two, I did self-development every day. So I worked on my skill set, my mindset, my money mindset or whatever. And number three, I did a video a day. And so on July 15, 2009, I started doing a video a day, and I've never missed. It's over 11 years or whatever it is now, 12 years maybe. No, almost, no, 11 years. And so the reason I started doing that is I hated prospecting, still hate it. I hate prospect. I hate reaching out to people. I did it because I needed to, but I wanted people to come to me. I wanted to generate leads. And so I don't know the exact amount, but we've, generated probably close to 500,000 leads at this point, over all those years. And here's how to do that. Another mistake made by network marketers is they focus on, the thing they have for sale, right? So they, this is just a coffee thing, but they, like, this is my thing for sale. It's shampoo, and this is what I'm going to talk about. This is all I'm going to talk about ever. And so they're spooning it, they're pouring it on themselves. And like, that's the only content they ever create. Well, okay, that's going to speak to the less than 1% of people who are ever just ready to buy. Someone wakes up and says, Martha, I'm going to go on social media and buy some shampoo. Here's some, right? And it's just such a small percentage of people that are just ready to buy your thing. And so instead, when you have this thing for sale, you actually don't have to talk about this thing in your marketing. So Saturday, I was the MC for a charity gala for foster care. And it was an awesome, awesome event, raised a bunch of money. It was amazing. And I sat next to my buddy who owns I'll give him a shout out, my buddy Joey, who owns 5-Star Valet, right? So he owns a valet company that serves a lot of clubhouses and, whatever, fancy restaurants and things like that have valet services. And he was asking me about marketing, and he's like, my main target is clubhouses, like getting the country clubs, I should say, country clubs. And, but I just don't, am I doing videos and like how I park cars, right? And I'm like, no, actually what I would do is I would focus on what are the problems that a country club encounters, or what is something that those running the country club, what kind of content would they be interested in? Maybe it's how to offer better services for your members. Maybe it's, how to reduce your expenses as a country club. Maybe it's how to market your country club. I would talk all about them, right? All about their problems, the things that they encounter. And then once I have them, once I'm connected to them, then I say, oh, by the way, one way we help is we have a valet service. So this thing becomes my conversation. So it's not in my marketing, but it's in my conversation for the leads that I generate. So same thing. If I'm in a network marketing company, let's say that it's a real estate network marketing company. There's a few of those out there, and I want to attract more realtors. Well, what do realtors struggle with? Where how to get more how to get more for sale, how to get more leases, how to get more traffic on their website, how do they get known as the professional in a particular neighborhood. So I'm going to talk about where to list your properties to get more traffic, right? I'm going to talk all about that. And then when I start attracting them and start communicating with them, I say, hey, by the way, I have this thing over here where you can actually earn off the efforts of others, right? But the same thing, if I'm trying to attract, if I notice that there are a lot of parents in my health and wellness company, then I could be talking about parenting tips. I could be talking about parenting suggestions or meal planning or workouts or whatever, but focus on who, not what, right? Most people focus on the thing I have for sale. I'm going to focus on who might buy this. Who would I actually like to work with, and what are their problems? What do they struggle with? Do they struggle with nighttime sugar cravings? Do they struggle with love handles? Do they struggle with how to prepare, meals for their, kid, for their gluten-free kid? I'm going to focus on the things around them to attract them to me, then have the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, what boggles my mind, I watch so many people on social media that they're playing the game all wrong. I mean, you'll never see me really outright talk about my company. I mean, like zero, you know what I mean? I rarely even talk about the services that we provide. All I'm trying to do is provide really good content.
Yeah.
I think so. What you said right now was right on, and I love that because I was telling I have a coaching program that I do every week with entrepreneurs, and I was telling them that my first, I've probably been on social media, I don't know, maybe 7 years or something like that. But my first 5 years, I did it completely wrong. I mean, nobody taught me how to do it. And so what you're doing right now is so valuable, Ray, because people need to understand that this is a tool that is a free tool that, I mean, you could generate so much income. You could generate so many recruits by doing it the right way. And I think the wrong way is posting pictures of your dog all day long, right? Like, look, I mean, I love your dog. Look, I mean, I love your dog. Your dog's nice and everything, but, enough is enough. I mean, even people that post their kids every day, love your kids. Like, don't ever not post your kids, but like, not every day, right? Give me something valuable. Show me kind of the something that's going to help me today, because that's what's going to keep me coming back. And when I'm ready for wanting to talk to somebody that has anything to do with what you're talking about, I'm going to pick you, because I just like, it's almost like, I don't know if I'm wrong or not, but it's almost like people want to reward you. Like they're like, you know what? I like what that guy's doing. I'm going to go to him. If I was going to look for, like I owe you something because you've been so consistent. You've been so valuable to me. I really love your stuff. And it's just awesome. Hey, look, I know we only have a couple more minutes, but look, Ray, I want to hit you with a couple of objections, right? I want to see how you kind of play here. And, this is the salesperson in me here. I love when people do this to me too, but I'm going to hit you with stuff. Okay. So, but I have to pay to start a business. Like, why do I have to pay, Ray? I don't want to pay to join something or to make money. Why do I got to do that, man?
Yeah. And you know what, if I misunderstood what you were looking for and you're looking for a job, this isn't a job. This is a business. It's a very low cost business, but this is a business. This is something that you have an unlimited capacity to make money at. You're not going to have to clock certain hours. You're going to have to do whatever, but you have an unlimited capacity. So this is very much a business. And if you haven't budgeted anything to start a business, then, you may want to go back and kind of think about that. I have a friend that just bought a pizza for his restaurant. It's a brick oven pizza. It was $80,000. Now, how many pizzas do you think he has to sell to get that money back? Quite a bit. Now, if you go out and you buy a Domino's franchise, it's $250,000, and they tell you that it's a 10-year return on investment. And just so you know what that means, because that's a business term, it means in 10 years, you should get your money back. Okay. Now we do have an investment to start this business here. If you're wanting to make more money and you want me to coach you, which I do not charge for when you're in my organization, I'm happy to do that, but you're absolutely going to have to come up with some money.
Good stuff, man. But you know, Ray, like I just don't want to be involved in one of those pyramid things.
I understand. I had some bad experiences as well. I don't know if you have some actual bad experiences, but I had some bad experiences. I mean, the term pyramid, I really didn't understand. I don't know if you do, but that means that there is no actual service or product. Well, I have plenty of customers. So we have customers that buy it that do not participate in the income. So it's really up to you on what you're wanting. If you're wanting to make extra money and you have an awesome way other than this to do it, I would definitely pursue that. But if you don't have another way to make money, this is a way that I found that works for me, and I'm happy to show you how I did it.
Good stuff. What about like, you know, Ray, I feel like, you know, I'm just not a salesperson. You know, I feel like if I do that business, I gotta go sell my friends and family. And I just don't feel right selling to them or selling to people. It feels like it's not me.
Yeah. I gotta be honest, I'm a little relieved, because if you were experienced in sales, I would actually have to spend a lot of my time to untrain you. Because the person that is really good at sales is polished, is smooth, is slick. And to be honest, that's not duplicatable. And so I want someone who's willing to follow our system and who is not going to fancy it up, and they're just going to follow the system. Because if you just follow the system, people will see how you do it and know that they can do it too. And you'll make money, we'll make money, we'll make lots of money. Now, if you were super polished, I can make it work. It's just a lot more work, and it's tough to untrain you.
Man, you're good, Ray. You're really, really good, man. This is good stuff. I love this. I could do this for another hour, man. I just, you know, just to kind of close it out.
How about one more? How about one more? Just because this is one of my favorites, and people hear this a lot. You don't have the money.
Okay, I still got the money, Ray, man. I'm broke right now. You know, the COVID thing, and I'm broke.
Gotcha. Now let me just ask you this: so if you did have the money, is this something you could see yourself doing?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, got it. And you're saying you just don't have it in a bank account, don't have it on a credit card, don't have it anywhere?
Nope.
Okay. How far off are we?
I mean, you know, I don't know, maybe, you know, a couple
$500 to join.
Yeah. We're probably $300 away.
Okay. And so, you know, how could we come up with that money? Like, you know, how do you see yourself coming up with that money there? So the big, I'll break out of character. The big question there is, how far off are we? I mean, I've had people say, I got 450, right? And we're coming up with $50, which is not that difficult. I've had people pawn jewelry. I've had people sell instruments. I've had people borrow, right? But the big question that usually helps people is, how far off are we?
And you know what's interesting? I'm glad you brought that up, because what's interesting, what I've been kind of thinking about lately, as you know, we continue to recruit people. I mean, our organization recruits about 300 people a month right now. And we have about 1,500 licensed agents. We have 48 locations. And the one thing that I kind of let people know that is, you know, because it's like $124 we license them and all that kind of stuff. So it's not a large amount, but, you know, in my mind, because a lot of people don't spend money on marketing, if they think somebody is quality, invest into the person. You spend no money on advertising. You spend no money on any sort of, you know, you don't invest really that, you know, in your business. Why not invest into the person? If the person made sense, right? I mean, if somebody says, look, I can't come up with $124, well, maybe this might be an opportunity for the right person, not for everybody, for the right person to say, you know what, I'm going to invest into you. And you know, I've had people say, look, I'm going to pay you back. I'm all in. I will do. And then it's amazing what happens, because the truth is, why do we recruit people? We recruit people because there's going to be a return on investment for that person's time to join the business, to get in the business. Could be internal consumption. It could be, you know, another recruit down the road. It could be sales, their own sales, or, you know, in their warm market. if the investment is low, invest in the people. I think personally, what do you think about that? Does that make any sense?
I'm not a fan. I have seen it work out, right? So I will
You're
say
just not
that.
a fan of paying for somebody to join them.
Yeah, and not because of the payment, but because of duplication and because of two things around mindset. One, a lot of people, if they don't have skin in the game, they don't have skin in the game. But number two, not so obvious, is that when someone is able to overcome their own money issue, they're a much better recruiter. And so like I've been at events, where I'm like, hey, how many of y'all didn't have the money? And like 50% raise their hand. And so those 50%, when they encounter people that don't have money, they don't just default to let me buy you in. They're like, well, how can you come up with it, right? So I just I've seen it work out for sure. I'm not a huge fan. Just me.
No, I totally get it. My entire career, it was very rare that would ever happen.
Sure.
I just think that at some point, people have to make sure that they're investing in their business somehow. I always kind of thought about it, man, I'm going to buy leads anyways, man. I mean, if I'm going to buy leads and I get a lead to come in and I can make that guy come in and he's got a huge market, I don't want to lose that because of, a small amount of money. But look, the last thing I want to hit you with is leadership. Leadership is everything in business, and especially when you're building teams, when you're growing organizations, when you're trying to lift people up. I mean, what's leadership mean to you? And what are some of the things that you did early on from a leadership standpoint to really grow teams? Because obviously that's what you did.
Yeah. And we've, although we're not, in the field anymore, we my wife and I, we coach and train. I work, pretty closely with a lot of leaders. So our top coaching client does bring home over $1 million a month. That's not volume, that's actual income. And our largest team is 750,000. And so I made almost every mistake when I first started. So I would get on the call and I'd get on the team call and be like, if you're not talking to 10 people a day, what's wrong with you? And my alphas, my runners, my foaming at the mouth people were like, yeah, man, that was fire, bro. And then I'd see the team dip a little bit. And so the biggest thing that I've learned around leadership is understanding that there are different degrees of desire. There are people like us that are nuts, right? We want to make millions and millions and tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars. There's a lot of people that just want to belong. And they want to show up to the meetings. They want to do a little bit. They want to make, a little bit of money, maybe, but they're just not wired. Us trying to get everyone wired like us is a big mistake, because you will chase people away that never had the chance to germinate. And so for me, it's not intensity, it's longevity, and so the way to longevity is culture. Culture is the making of people to feel good, regardless of their level of desire or regardless of their level of result. So if I come into your organization and I'm not sure how goal-oriented I am or how hard I want to run, and I'm still welcomed and I still feel good being a part of things, and you clarify to me, hey, if you're wanting to run hard, do this, but we still appreciate you, then I'm probably going to stick around and have the chance that the longer I stand around the campfire, the more likely I'll catch a spark. We saw a lot of this during the pandemic because there were a lot of people that were kind of dormant in network marketing companies, but they were made to feel like they belonged and acknowledged, and they weren't losers. They didn't feel like losers. When the pandemic hit, they decided to step up. So there were a lot of teams that just exploded, not even with new growth necessarily, but with people activating and then them going out and getting the business. And so how people feel, regardless of their level of desire, level of result, is what I see the most important thing for duplication, for growth, for longevity and retention.
I'll tell you, I'm completely guilty because, there's no question about it. That has been one of my, throughout my whole career, because I am that guy that drives the team. And we've built one of the most successful organizations. But the truth is, I know that I've drove people away through the years. I know that that has been a huge, huge mistake throughout the years from time to time in certain situations that I've made a mistake. And I wish, if those people ever could hear this podcast, I apologize that I was a tough coach, man. I was a tough coach. Now, again, it's good and bad. But I do think what you're saying.
If they raise their hand.
Yeah, absolutely.
If they ask for it, that's exactly.
A different story. But I 100% agree with what you're saying, Ray, because you're ultimately correct, because we have to make people feel good. It's praise and recognition. It's pushing up people. It's getting people to feel like they can do it, even at their level. So now, the last 10 years, I let people know, look, go at your own pace, man. Kind of do this thing at your own, do this thing as much as you want to do it. And if you're ready to go faster, we can do that too. Hey, this is cool stuff, man. I want to just end with this. I always like to ask a couple of things. Favorite book?
My favorite book, the one that impacted me at a very good time, is Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand.
One of my favorites, man. I tell you, I think we might be long lost brothers or something, man. I don't know. There's some sort of, when I'm in Florida, we're going to go have lunch. Okay.
I was wondering, where are you? Are you in Cali?
I'm in Rancho Cucamonga, California.
Okay.
Yep.
Got it.
Yep.
Got it.
Southern California. Favorite movie?
Favorite movie. Favorite movie. I'm so not in the thinking space for favorite movie.
Well, my favorite movie is Forrest Gump. I mean, I'm just I'll throw it out there for it. Amazing. And what about favorite food?
Favorite food. I mean, now I'm mainly doing keto. So I love avocado. I mean, I just love avocado and bacon.
Do you know Sean Wells?
Name
so
familiar.
Check out my podcast. He's a big keto guy. Great podcast. You can watch it on YouTube. Sean Wells. Phenomenal. One of my favorite podcasts so far. Good friend of mine, but very, very smart. He's basically a scientist, formulator guy. Good stuff. Ice cream or cake?
Between the two, cake.
Okay, between the two, cake. Awesome. All right, everybody. Man, this has been so much fun, Ray. Man, I love meeting new people. I love making new friends, and you're a pretty wise dude. And it's been an honor to hang out with you for a little while. And I just want to make sure that everybody knows how to find you, where to connect with you, because obviously you a lot of my audience will love this podcast because they are going to be connected with you, and you teach people how to understand multi-level marketing, maybe at a different level than most people. And so how do we get in touch with you and give us all that info? Yeah, I mean,
I'm Ray Higdon on most of the social media profiles. Instagram is where I post the majority of my skits. So there's like probably 50 up there that are little 30-second little skits that have a lesson in them all around network marketing. And our new book, Time, Money, Freedom, is out by Hay House. It's not a network marketing book, but it does highly edify network marketing, because that is such a major part of my journey. And so Ray Higdon, you can catch me on any social media.
Well, if my audience knows me, you better follow Ray. I love Ray. Okay, go get the book right away, connect with him, and do me a favor, by the way. Reach out to Ray and say, look, I heard, I met Ray through you, Daniel, and you let me know about it. I want to know this journey for everybody, and I just want to make sure you get as many connections from this as possible, and people are going to love this, share this podcast like crazy, and as always, make sure that you dream bigger than ever. Get after it, but most importantly, do it now. God bless you. We will see you at the top.